There are many people right now who feel like they just want to quit. Quit on their family, quit on their dream, quit on their purpose, quit on their business. We are going to provide you ways to understand that, yes, that might be true, but within the season that you're in, there is hope, there is inspiration, and we are going to empower you in this episode. I cannot wait for you to tune in and understand how your pain still can be leveraged into your purpose. Welcome back to Aspire Higher with Charles and me, Yvana Bailey. I'm super excited because today you're going to get motivation, inspiration, and empowerment. We want you to not only like, share, and subscribe, but to not quit. We understand there's so much going on in life right now, but honestly, internally, it is your opportunity to not quit.
You better speak, girl.
I am. How you feeling?
After that, I love it. I feel better. That confidence,
Good.
man, exudes. But it's true, man.
Listen.
For you that are watching, we really want to inspire you today because the truth is everyone's going through struggles, situations. There's so much happening, and you're going through things that many people don't even know you're going through.
Yeah.
Same respect. People are going through things that you have no idea they're going through.
Yeah.
So I would say this very quickly. You have to get to a place in your heart and your mind where you say, I don't care who it is, what comes. I will not quit. Yeah. Because that is exactly what these circumstances are trying to make us do.
That's right.
Yeah, man.
There are so many things going on within the climate of people's lives. We have the political aspect.
Sure.
We have the environmental aspect.
Yes.
We have the personal struggles. We have the doubt.
Yeah.
We have the fear of failure struggles. These are continuums that seem to be placed in people's lives, but the solution is very rare on how to fix it.
Sure.
Sometimes you can't really fix it with just getting a course or buying a course. You can't really fix it with an ice cream cone. I found that in my life, the way that I'm fixing my own internal war and struggles is finding external support that, number one, believes in me, number two, supports me, and challenges me, number three.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I'm not challenged, I won't grow.
Yeah, 100%.
It's honest.
Yeah.
I found that no matter what level of pressure I've been under, and I mean pressure cooker, like all the way on high, broiled almost to death, it felt like internally, that there was a moment where I almost caved in to the pressure. Almost felt like I can't make it out of this pot of life. I can't make it out and understand how to bounce back.
Yeah.
And I think so many individuals in life are struggling. This is the last quarter of the year. Some people feel like they didn't accomplish their January goal or anything.
That's an absolute
And to
point.
me, I started realizing, like, as long as I put myself first and advocate for my life, I am winning. There is no failure in that. Now, when you take the other externals and start caving in with pressure and understanding, maybe I didn't do this right, maybe I'm not here, or this goal, you start to almost buckle.
Yeah,
and that fear is real. Yeah. And I've talked to many clients and many individuals, especially entrepreneurs, especially, and they just feel like they're not generating enough.
Yes.
And they feel almost like not only unseen, but I've talked to individuals and they really felt like, I'm about to quit.
Yeah.
I'm about to close my business. I'm about to pivot into a really bad part of my life. And I don't know how to come out of that.
Yeah.
And that despair that people are masking around with.
Oh, yeah. Come on.
Masking around with is real.
Well, I think the greatest thing to say it, and I can even speak for us, is we have our own challenges too. Any challenge that you can imagine, every person around you is going through some form or version of it.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to see into the heart and soul of a person and realize that this is a part of humanity.
100.
And then we are
100%.
believers
Yes.
in
Mhm.
Christ. And so that adds another layer of
Yep.
trying to live
Persecution,
righteously
yes,
and
yes.
trying to do good
Yeah.
despite the environments that we may be in that
Yeah.
don't support our attempts to be all that we're made to be.
Right.
So it's constantly some form of pressure somewhere.
Right.
But
right.
again, to encourage you, you can't quit.
Yeah.
Now, secondly, to your point, you're so right. A lot of people in this economical climate are struggling.
Yeah.
Business owners
Yeah.
are feeling like I put my life on the line.
That's right.
And this isn't working out the way that I
That
thought it would.
Exactly. Yeah.
But here's the issue. You have to remind yourself that it's always working together for your good,
Come on.
especially if you love God.
Yeah.
But sincerely, it
Yeah.
is working together because of who you may be becoming.
Right.
You said something at the beginning of the show. You said, if I don't get challenged, I don't grow.
Period.
We love to use those cliches,
Right.
but then when life does what life does,
Oof.
then we fold.
Right. Right. I would say if I can just hold on.
Just hold on.
If I could hold on, but watch this. A lot of people hold on to the wrong support.
You better talk about it.
They'll hold on to a thread or a piece of hay that will break and will never challenge them in life to grow and pursue their purpose, right? So for me, athletically, in business, in the entertainment world, there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of need to always perform.
Right.
So it almost strips the level of humanity because you're constantly performing a
That's
persona,
right.
correct?
Constantly performing.
Okay. So in my life, I started realizing that if I don't perform another day, do I feel satisfied with myself?
With you. Come on.
Am I internally growing in ways that not only challenge me to be better,
Sure.
but they move the needle forward?
Right.
And sometimes it could be as basic as journaling my thoughts as opposed to keeping it internal.
You better talk. Come on, coach.
There are many times I do that.
Yeah.
I'll wake up and I'll be like, okay, got to feed the dog, got to run,
All
got to,
that.
and I'm like, wait a minute.
I didn't
Let's
put
get back
me
to my
first.
structure because if I don't command my morning early, I lost.
Mm.
I lost. So I know for a fact the principles of finding out who you are internally, releasing that pressure and stress the best way possible. Some
Yes.
people need physical activity.
Sure.
Some people need social outlets that allow them to be seen and loved and celebrated for who they are.
Yeah.
Some people need other things. They just need a quiet time
Sure.
or sabbaticals, retreats, right?
Sure. Sure.
But whatever you need, that support and structure is still there to make sure that you still grow in that opportunity.
Right. Absolutely.
And when you don't take those opportunities, it feels like there is a true internal war
Sure.
with the need to not give up.
Yeah.
The need to feel like I'm going to give up, but I don't know how to make it through that.
Yeah. Sure.
Have you ever felt in your life that struggle?
I mean, the way you presented it, maybe. I don't say that I have said that I'm going through something and I don't know how I'm going to get out, because what I consciously and consistently do is remind myself that as long as I took one step forward, there's a story, and I mean this sincerely, and I hope I'm answering it in a way that you can understand, but there was a story about the horse, I think it was, and the boy. And there may be another title for it, but once you hear it, maybe you'll know the story better. Feel free to put in the comments what the name of this parable was. But there was a horse and a boy, and they were out on the field, and they got lost in the trees. And of course, the horse speaks in this parable. But the horse and the boy, as they're walking, they get lost, and the boy says, "I don't know how to find my way back home."
Mm-hmm.
The horse then says, "That's fine, but can you see the step in front of you?" And he said, "Yes, I can." He said, "Well, then that's the only step we need to be concerned about."
Yeah.
And essentially, I kind of butchered that story, but that's kind of how I see my life. Whenever things get really hard, and you know this about me, I've been called to some degree, and I'm not, but I've been called almost masochistic, because the harder it gets, I find the more I rise to the level of challenge. I think that comes from our athletic background. Even my therapist will say that. It comes from the athletic part of me, that the harder it gets, the more I show up.
Right.
I don't retreat from it.
Right.
I actually run toward it.
Right.
But sometimes I feel unsupported because you want to be running toward it with someone, but not everyone handles it the same way you do.
Of course.
So I can't say that I feel like I don't know how I've ever how I would ever get through it, because even with my heart surgeries, you remember the story when I had those 3 heart surgeries. I was in high school. I was diagnosed with an atrial defect, and this is a part of my story, and this is one of the parts of one of my signature keynotes where I talk about that. I went in and had one surgery, and the procedure was a Nupra surgery that would have been outpatient. I would have been in one day, out the next, but it didn't work because it was experimental. And the very same night after discovering that it didn't work, one of the doctors who absolutely was the head of the entire cardiological department, he was the lead heart surgeon. I don't know why I said surgeon, but the lead heart surgeon. He told my parents to wait so we can meet them the next morning before driving back home. I would have been put on a list for heart surgery for another 6 months to a year, depending on when they can even make space. But the doctor walked in, and I'm old enough to recognize what he was saying now, but when he first told us, he said that there was a cancellation, one cancellation, and I was already there. They said, why send you home? If you're open to this is a hard decision, but it's going to be open heart surgery, but I've seen your case and I believe I can do it.
Okay.
And I literally remember, and I still have the most vivid of memories of it. I'm sitting at a desk, coloring in a color book, so we were waiting for him to come in. He's telling my parents all this news. I'm still a teenager, but I'm just going about my business. And as soon as he finished talking, it was almost as if my soul was waiting for him to finish because I had already had peace to say yes. Yeah. I said, let's do it. I looked straight up into him just like I'm looking in the camera. Let's do it. And I put my head back down and I started coloring, and my parents were silent. Yeah. And I think I've always had that in me. Right. I don't necessarily love struggle. I don't necessarily love persecution and challenge, but I'm not afraid of it because I understand life has to life. Yeah. You can't say that you're one who's willing to do whatever it takes to get where you want to get. And then when what is required of you comes, you back away from it.
Yeah, that's right. You know, thank you for sharing that, because that's your personal journey and your testimony. And thank God you're alive. Amen. You know? Cool. And thank God you didn't quit. Yeah. And the doctors didn't quit on you.
Yeah, that's right.
There is a moment I thought about recently where I was attending this pretty amazing fashion show. And there was an opportunity for me to be there early. So I did, because sometimes you got to be early to catch the fish. So I believe in the power of networking. I believe in casting the net. And so I was there and I was presenting myself. But there was a moment I got burnt out before the fashion show even started. So I sat in this chair after, you know, greeting people and talking to people. And I just sat down and I was like, I'm tapped. Like, I'm done. I'm done. I don't want to talk to anyone else. And you're talking about an extreme extrovert. But I said, I want to be in my shell. And I'm okay with doing that. You know, I'm okay with just showing up and being seen and talking to those that I did. Watch this. I was going to give up prematurely because I felt like I was exhausted enough to shut down who I am. As I sat there were a group of women that came in, and sometimes your person or your group of people will see you out, meaning like she looked at me and she smiled, and the other one looked at me and she smiled, and I was like, oh, because in myself, I love people. So I'm like, it's time. But I was also like, but I'm tired and I'm exhausted and I don't want to talk to nobody else. But watch this. She walks over, the other lady introduces us. It was a split second. I said, get up. Get up out this seat. Get over yourself and make sure that when you stand up, you present all of who you are, because you never know who you're talking to. That's true. So I got up, I started talking. Would you believe that entire opportunity, even before the fashion show, we're connecting. All of a sudden, the same people that were like, are laughing. They're in a moment of joy. And I was like, I am producing and cultivating a climate conducive to growth, conducive to a moment of joy that some women, they might have struggled before they got here. And so the more I made them laugh, I realized how selfish could I have been to just sit in that opportunity of giving up. So when I moved forward, I felt like this and I heard it. Yvana, person, individual, even that's listening, you have the power within you to, yes, take a moment, because I still took my moment. I still gathered myself. But you have the power to express all of who you are and still be in a moment of impact and influence. And I said, after those women leave, I need to go back to the source. My source is God. I need to go back to the source and get replenished, be renewed and rejuvenated. So yes, you could take a moment where you feel like you're giving up. But also too, from that, still, some people don't even know they have a little bit more bandwidth left in them.
Okay.
I didn't think I did.
Okay.
I really didn't. So when I moved and progressed from that moment, I started understanding that if I still present all of who I am, not only am I giving back, but I can be restored thereafter.
I can understand that.
So in counseling, you might need to take a moment where you're like, I quit. I have nothing left to give. But let that seed, let that person, let that therapist or that professional sow something into your life. And for me, personally, even in therapy, my therapist said, Yvana, you're always on. Take a moment,
Sure.
Go for a retreat, take days off, and then get back to it because your life is meant to inspire other people.
100%. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things. If I can try my best to add value to you from what you've done so beautifully to do so, is you don't have to reserve yourself to that feeling of defeat.
Yeah.
You don't have to, you can identify,
Yeah.
you can understand, you can truly respect what you're feeling because they're valid.
Right. 100%.
But then you also have to recognize you're still valuable.
Yeah.
And you still bring value. And I think that's
it.
Something I hope you can gather.
Yeah.
And some of us, we struggle, and it may not be emotional.
Right.
Some of us is financial.
Right.
We're in a time where oftentimes we have this conversation often. A lot of times people will present one thing, but it's not the reality of what they're living.
No.
And it doesn't mean that we don't go through times, because it's life, man.
Yeah.
Even the wealthiest of people can't stop hard things or things that will attack their health or their family, lawsuits, whatever. In a moment, it can change.
Yeah.
I remember when I used to work in ministry full time, I had a pastor leader that used to say, we're all one decision away from being the same person we just passed on the corner, on the street. It really does happen that quickly for some people.
Right. But look at the climate of, the economy.
But I'm saying that to say, you don't have to resort to the fear because of a possibility.
Yeah.
So as possible as it is for something to go wrong, it's also possible for things to turn around rather quickly.
Right.
And that's genuinely how I think.
Right.
It's almost like this, and then going back to the financial aspect, some of us, I include ourselves, are going through hard times financially where we're not making what we used to. Or maybe we're comparing ourselves to what other people seem to be doing or making.
Yeah.
Because we live in a life full of highlight reels. But I got to finish by saying this, though. Just because you're going through a season where you don't have what you perceive to be as enough, you may actually be right on the cusp of having more than you've ever imagined. Because broke is just a temporary financial state of being that occurs in every human being's life.
Yeah.
But being poor is a mind that is set on the unrealistic expectation that you will never have enough.
Right.
It's a mindset.
It's a mindset. Yeah. Let me give you an example of how I know of a phenomenal female entrepreneur that reframed a climate with probably the same mindset that she had, but after she shared what she shared, it was conducive to excellence and growth.
I remember this story.
I know. Okay, so there was a moment of time where there was a speaker that was asked to be on a panel. She wanted to present, because it was a powerful room. She wanted to present that, I got it all together, our business is thriving, and that's it. Because that's the snapshot of what most people want to hear.
And it's what they see.
So how can you contradict what you see and promote, right? Yeah. Watch this. So there was an internal war every time she spoke. And in that internal war, she said, there was a moment where I looked out at these women and I felt convicted. Because how am I saying one thing and our business is in the state and the climate to where it's not doing the best it could at this time of life?
Right.
So what she decided to do was sit there and say, you know what, everyone? I had to take out a business loan.
Yeah.
It hasn't been working the best in our favor when it comes to finances and this business.
Yeah.
Women looked up immediately. Some that were scrolling stopped.
Immediately.
Because of transparency and vulnerability.
Absolutely.
Okay? With that being said, in that moment, She didn't know that she woke up the people that were lying
Everyone.
dormant, the ones that were masking and parading around with this facetious character of, I've got it all together, I'm rich, I'm wealthy. But then all of a sudden, when she got off the panel, women ran to her talking about, you shared something that I've been struggling with. Nobody knows that I had to do the same thing early 2024 or yesterday. Nobody knows that I had to ask parents and people for money to make sure my business was thriving and alive so I didn't file bankruptcy.
Yeah.
That is a moment of
moment.
reframing the inner war and also the mindset.
That's right.
Because she could have just been like, yep, got it all together. Everything's
Absolutely.
good. Yep, we're great.
Absolutely.
But then watch this. Not only did she trigger something within those women, but it enabled them to come together.
Absolutely.
And now all those women are like, hey, what's your contact?
Support system.
What's your number? Support system. Support system. So you can go through a season in life where there's a struggle.
Yeah.
We're all human. We get it. But what you do in that struggle is vital. Who you support in that struggle is vital. She didn't know that she was going to be the support system for those women to build transparency and say the same thing, confirm, hey, I'm struggling too. She didn't know that, but it was a choice.
That's right.
And so when I sit in pain, when you sit in pain, when we go through struggles in life, there is a moment where, it's valid. Take a moment, take a breather, take a pause, right? But then realize that there are other people that you might be able to lead through your struggle.
In fact, you're already in position to lead them. But the problem is that the distraction wants you to be focused on it.
Come on.
And not the mission that you said was actually on the inside of you to fulfill.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
You know, in our book, by the way, if you hadn't, we're going to tell you again.
What? Tell them.
You need to get our book, The Flight of Your Life by Charles and Yvana Bailey. Not only is it a bestseller, but it really is changing lives.
Y'all.
I'm not saying that to sell you. I want to read something to you.
Yes.
Because there's so many principles in it that'll blow your mind if you'll let it.
Yeah.
But one of the earliest things we write is, you may think that your big break has come, only to be surprised that these words can have a double meaning. We've been there. And I'm saying this to say, because sometimes the thing that is breaking you the most is the thing that is meant to build you the most. Oof. There's so many people who do not understand that there is life that happens and it comes with challenge and struggle. But at the end of it is the reward you were after.
Right.
This is why we oftentimes say your purpose, what you're really meant to do, if you're really straight up passionate about what you say you're passionate about, it's not going to direct you away from the struggle. It's going to run you right into it. Because sometimes the thing that you say you want the most needs to test you first, because it wants to know how you will take care of it, if you will handle it well, and if you're worthy of that calling.
Geez, that was a word right there. We almost could end the show right there, but we want to give them some takeaways. That was real.
Yeah.
That was so real. There is, every time I've been broken, I've been built so much stronger after, because I took the time for myself to understand that life cannot always be smiles, giggles, fun, laughter.
We talk about that. It's not all roses and rainbows.
Man, those tears really do cultivate a harvest, because they're watering the seeds that have been kind of dying, you know? And it's a tough thing to know and to permit or allow yourself. Some people struggle with the ability to cry. Some people struggle with the ability to be so brutally honest with themselves that they're not having it all together. That it is, I believe, within those times where the brokenness has still showed me that underneath that soil, there are seeds that are still meant to come alive. And sometimes I look at plants and I'm like, man, that seed is dead, or that plant is dead, and didn't even know that it needed time, the right rain, and then the right season. And all of a sudden it grew even bigger than last time. And that's what pruning is all about. We know pruning from a biblical aspect,
Sure.
but for the gardeners, for the planters, pruning is real.
Yeah.
You cut off a dead limb or a dead branch or dead
That's right.
something, it looks like, oh man, that tree will never grow again. It will never produce again. But then all of a sudden, it could be 6 months, a year later,
Sure.
and it grow even bigger. So I would say to the one that is struggling, to the one that is feeling the need and the desire to quit, the one that is looking in the eye, almost of a death of a dream, to realize that you still have life in you. Take a moment, take a pause, but then after that, realize that it is the right support that you truly need to bring you out of it. And some people want to do things by themselves. I got it. They're crying at night every night. I can do it. They're not asking the bank for support. They're too ashamed because of arrogance and haughtiness. They're almost too ashamed to put themselves at a position of humility. But where there's humility, there is also exaltation
sure.
in the right time,
Yeah.
in due time.
You have to give things
Come on, give it time.
Yeah.
So yeah, you might feel like you want to quit and give up. We get it. It's valid. I'm going to validate you. It is real. You're feeling correct, right? Give it a moment. Give it a season,
Sure.
give it a brief amount of time to know that it's going to work together. You're going to come out of that shell. You're going to ask for structure and support. You're going to establish boundaries. You're going to be in positions to where some people will come into your life. Every time I've been broken, somebody came into my life. It could be one person that said, hey, I've got a support group, or hey, I'm a therapist, or hey. So it was in that moment where I had to really push pride aside and be like, I do need the help.
Sure.
I need it.
Sure.
And I grew like a cedar tree after that. And I truly mean that. Everything was blessed after it. But it came with a moment of vulnerability. It came with a moment of brokenness. And it came with a moment of saying, yeah, I feel like giving up, but I'm not, because I see the support and I'm willing to take it.
Man, that's awesome, man. No, it's incredible. Just the thoughts of what it really means to keep yourself encouraged. I gave a message once. I was preaching at a church in Sarasota. And I'm going to say this to you because I know at this point, someone listening, you really do need some encouragement.
Yeah.
But the word, in essence, encouragement, just means to put courage into something. So I want to give you courage. I don't know if I can pass it to you in the screen, or if you're listening to my voice on the Spotify or any other streaming network or platform. I don't know what you're going to feel, but what I am going to tell you is that you have to keep putting one foot in front of the other. You also have to find faith. I'm saying this because I know it. It is very difficult for me to understand how people walk through this life alone, or walk through this life with people. I want to say this very clearly, a whole bunch of people, and yet they're still alone.
Yeah.
For me, it's genuinely, and will always, always point back to my faith in Jesus Christ. I'm saying it because I've said it many times before. I hope that you would think more about the reality that you are loved and you have value, you have purpose here. And that some of the things you're facing are intentionally challenging you so that you can become all the things you feel on the inside are meant for you.
Right.
But life, because of what it is and how it's come about, will not be easy for those who really believe and know that they're called to greater.
Yeah.
Because the intent is to stop you from believing you can get there.
Yeah.
So I want you to also be grateful for what you have done.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard us talk about it throughout this show. Sometimes you have to step back and realize that even when you're going through what you're going through, you're still giving encouragement to other people.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You
That's
still
right.
light up rooms
Yes.
that you don't realize were dark before the moment you walked in it.
Come on.
You don't realize that when you show up, you
Yeah.
change the temperature of the
Yeah.
rooms that you're in.
Come on.
You may not even realize or recognize or truly honor that sometimes the reason why it gets hard is because you are making and creating so much change that the people who want to wallow and sit and hold others back don't appreciate the fact that you're calling them up, not just calling them out.
Yeah, that's right.
So I hope that you will take this from me because we care about you, and we've tried sincerely all of this time through every episode we've given to give you something to remind you to set higher aspirations.
That's right.
And this is how you can do it. See that you're a human and it's okay. Walk with gratitude and faith.
Yes.
And make sure that you know that you still have value. Don't give up. You can hold on.
That's right. That's right. And speaking of holding on, it might sound cheesy, but try to get a hold of our book. No, I'm serious. I was talking to a businesswoman and multiple businesses, and she was like, you know what? I need inspiration and I need to think better. And sitting and having a meeting with you changed my life because you put your life into a story.
Yeah.
And you asked me, what is holding you back from sharing your own? What's holding you back? Is it fear? Is it not support? Because we have a publishing company. We know people that are connected. So not only did she take a moment to purchase the book, but she said, it was after that moment that I said to myself, no longer am I going to make excuses. I'm going to start creating a moment where I can plan how to get my story into a book. I'm going to be around people that believe in me. And then I'm going to call my sister. She called her sister friend, and she was like, let's get this book and let's make this a book study.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa.
Sure.
So it doesn't have to be this book, but I'm asking you to support us.
Sure.
Because I believe in the words and the content that's written to help you take the flight of your life and to understand that there could be turbulence in your life. There could be times where you just felt like you were going to drop and crash, but there are principles here that will guide you into greater purpose, into greater understanding, and to give you the inspiration that you need to just hold on.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you so much for listening to this episode, for watching this episode. I want to thank you for listening to moments where we can encourage you, inspire you, and cause you to even maybe pause, dream again, and realize that you're human. Things happen, but let the season, an opportunity within you quitting, feeling like you're going to quit, to change your life because you said, you know what, they're right. I need a better support system. They're right. I need to get therapy. They're right. I am human. I can just go to the next board meeting and just let people know, hey, we're not in a great financial climate, but if someone is here that is willing to invest a seed, thank you. Just start being open is all I'm saying. Start being transparent, because the moment of transparency that you could be holding on to, once you release it, could be your true moment of harvest.
That's right.
So don't look for the time of the harvest, but know that in those seeds that you're planting, it can germinate, cultivate, and lead to the greatest moment in your entire life. Just don't quit.
That's right. Thank you guys for being part of our audience. If you loved what you heard, hit that subscribe button, hit it twice, turn on those notifications. And if you're someone who books speakers for events, you've heard what you needed to hear. We would love to be brought in to inspire your team. We speak to athletes and leadership. We would love to inspire you. We have programs that we've developed. In fact, part of purpose periodization is you will end up completing a book by the end of your time with us. We want to help you. So get on our website. You'll see it right below my fingers. Kayla, make sure it's right here. And sincerely, we can't wait to connect with you.